Hey everybody, we're live from Big Bite Baits today on Rig It Tuesday. My name is Les, aka The Coach. I'm a retired coach of 33 years in Alabama, and now I work here at Big Bite Baits as the pro staff director and do a little bass fishing on the side for fun and some local tournaments. Each week we're going to come on Tuesday and introduce a new bait to you and talk a little bit about it, and maybe can answer some questions to you how to rig it or colors or any general question you might have about the bait. We just want to love and talk about Big Bite Baits for sure. Today we're going to introduce our new bait that just came out in our tour series called the Swim Worm. It comes in two sizes. It comes in a 7.5 inch, comes in a 5.5 inch. We're going to show you a couple different types of techniques that you can use that a little later in our presentation. Right now let's talk about the colors that our new bait comes in. It comes in 13 fish catching colors. A whole gamut of different things to select whatever you like for your water situation. You could go to the clear water baits like the Chick Magnet, or the regular, what I call regular water, or not so clear water, green pumpkin, tilapia magic. Or then when it gets really muddy, you can go to the black and blue to give you that muddy presentation that you might want to throw. This type of rig that I'm going to talk about first has to do with this tail that we invented on this worm, and it's a new type of tail where you can tear it. And actually, in talking with our pros, you can tear the tail several different ways to make it have a little bit different action. But actually, it is serrated in the gap, and you can just pull it. I like to pull it all the way and fish it open. Some people pull it halfway, and it's all about the matter of you being the angler and what kind of presentation you like to do with it. But everything I'm going to talk about today will be with the open tail variation of it, and actually using the worm to swim of some variety. But that's the latest and greatest thing that we have in this new paddle tail worm, and we're really excited about it, and we've been getting lots of positive feedback on ways to use it, that type of thing. Which leads into, let's talk a couple ways today about how to use. Well, before I get to that, let me tell you one other thing I want to run over on the colors. Really excited about two new colors that we introduced into our line this year. We had a color we called Hematoma, which we have done really well with in the past. So we decided to make a variant of it, and we took the blue out of it and we added purple in. We call it Purple Toma. We're really excited about this new color, and as I said, we've gotten a lot of new positive feedback on that. The other color is a variation of Junebug, which Junebug's an old school color that's still being used by a lot of fishermen. But we took our typical Junebug red and we added a little green flake to it, and we now call it Junebug Candy. Something just a little bit different that might be different from your regular Junebug that you might like to try. All right, let's talk a little bit about rigging the Tour Swim Worm to your advantage. Okay, several ways that people like to fish it. I'm going to go over two today. I personally like using the paddle tail on a spinnerbait as a trailer as well, and that works real good. But two ways that we wanted to show you today that you might choose to rig it. One way is on a Texas rig. This is a real popular way to fish this bait in the southern part of the United States, more so. I hear a lot of anglers talking about turning it into a swim worm. It's ideal for grass fishing. Just take the bait and line it up and just do your typical Texas rig on it. Take the hook, pull it through, set it, come back, pull it through the hook, get it all shored up good, and then come back through the meat of the hook where you're hooking, and expose just a little bit of the tip where you get a good hook set, what I call skin hooking, and then cinch everything down with a bobber stopper. This particular one we got like a 3/16 ounce lead on, and take it. And this presentation is exceptionally good to throw over hydrilla, to throw in weed lines, throw in the grass. We basically just cast it out and use a steady retrieving action to whatever speed you might like to use, but just basically swimming the worm through the grass. Bass in this part of the country can't stand it, and they will come up and definitely grab it. But another way to rig it and make it a swim worm. And normally on this, I tear the tail all the way. So kind of give you an idea of a way you might want to try to use our new swim worm to your benefit. This is a popular way to use it. Another kind of a forgotten way that you might like to use this worm is actually my favorite way to rig it and use it. I like to do it on a Carolina rig. It has great action on the end of a Carolina rig. I don't tear the tail when I Carolina rig it. I use your typical 3/4 ounce sinker with bead, swivel, 2-foot leader. You might like a little longer leader or a little shorter leader. Texas rig the worm on the end, just like you would normally do. Thread her up. Once again, we skin hook it, pull the tip through it, square it off, let her roll. Carolina Rigs swim worm with no tail torn. Real good presentation of fish on the Carolina rig. Had a lot of success doing this. Way we might want to share it so you can use it. And you may have some other ideas of ways you like to rig it and use it. That's just two we want to share with you today. We thought that you might could use and be successful with. Each week as we do this, we like to answer 2 fan questions that we have that are sent in off of Instagram. Today the first question was, what's the best color rig for muddy rivers or muddy water? I like something dark in muddy water. Most of your fishermen will tell you to use, let's see if I can find one here, use a black and blue type color or either a hematoma type color of bait in that dark water, but some form of a dark blue or a black neon maybe, black with red flake. But altogether, it's got to have, I believe it has to have a dark background of some variety. So I recommend using, our darker type colors, hematoma most importantly, maybe your black and blue, maybe your black neon, just to give you an example. The second thing is, what conditions for fishing are best to use a Carolina rig? Well, I kind of think that's kind of up to the fisherman. I think that Carolina rigs are a real effective rig that you can use year round. I personally like to use a Carolina rig in pre-spawn, when you're fishing lots of points and places where the fish are holding before they move up to bed, and then out in the summer when you want to slow your presentation down, you can pull it out on the river ledges or on humps and ditches and that type of thing and pull it real slow. So that's the 2 ways that I personally like to use a Carolina rig. And I'm sure if I tallied our pro staff guys, they'd all have different ways that they would probably like to use that particular rig to their benefit or to the way they like to use it. At this time, I think we're going to entertain any questions you might have on any of the product. Jordan here is with us, our computer gentleman, and he's going to talk about some of the questions coming in that we might could answer. We might have an answer for you.
So one question that we got sent in was, is it important to use technique-specific rods for different things? Or can you just use, whatever rod you got?
That would be something I'd like to poll our pro staff on. I know that most of the friends that I have and some of the pros that I'm good friends with will basically like to use technique-specific rods. They have different setups they like to use for whatever particular type of bait that they're using. So I think that in my opinion, I think that is kind of important. And I think if you look at your rod companies, they're gone to more of doing that type of thing. I think their presentation on selling their product tends to lean that way as well.
Someone just submitted, what is the best length of worm to use?
I personally like a 10-inch worm, especially like out in the heat of the summer. But now if I'm fishing shallower, I like a smaller worm. But I know that we sell, as far as the sales go here at our company, we sell our B2 and our creek tail worms probably more than we do any other type of worm presentation that we sell.
And one more question that just got sent in is, what are some good lures I should be using for fall fishing?
Depending on how you want to attack the fish in the fall. I mean, it depends. Some people go out and fish in the fall depending on the structure they have, whether they have grass, whether they have hydrilla, or whether they're fishing just slick baits. That Carolina rig works real good in the fall for some people. I know here on the lake that I fish, we like to use rattle traps and topwater baits because we have a lot of hydrilla. So the fish gang up around the hydrilla and we use some type of moving bait or chatter bait maybe to get a reaction strike of some variety from our fish.
Another question on that Carolina rig we have rigged up. So you use a swivel to peg that weight up there. Could you, instead of that, just use a bobber stopper underneath the weight, or do you prefer a swivel?
You can. I'm just an old school guy, and originally when we first started fishing the Carolina rig many years ago, we've always put a swivel under it. That's why I still do that. I like to also put a bead above my lead as well as below my lead. I think it helps you jump over structure easier with that bead above it. Some people says it makes a clacking noise. I've had times where I thought I didn't like using the clack because I thought that the fish bit the lead instead of the bait. And you'd set the hook, and you'd get air because you had the fish had a hold of your lead. So I try not to do anything that's real noisy on my lead.
Okay, someone is asking, what is your favorite chatterbait trailer?
Well, I'm going to be prejudiced and say the Swim On will be my new one. That's the new bait that we're coming out with. Obviously, I'm going to promote our product. If you haven't tried the Swim On, the new Tour Series lineup, you need to try it. It's got tremendous action. The one thing I think is real positive about it is you rig it vertically on your chatterbait rather than turning it from side to side, and I think it'll work tremendously. Up until that time, I had been pulling the cane thumper on mine, like most of our pros do.
That's all we got.
Sounds good. Well, we've enjoyed it. We'll look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday right here at Big Bite Baits on Rig It Tuesday.